have like 10 viewers, so don't.
I just really need to pick my nose, though.
Were you? Your nose really needs it, though.
Yeah. See, can you tell? I just really need to pick my nose.
I know.
Oh, we're live. Oops, I didn't realize. All right. Everybody ready?
Yes.
It is Friday, September 28th, 2018. I'm Micah Sargent, and right now we're going to be talking about smooth selfie gate. Lots of other stuff, including the macOS Mojave launch, something about an iMac that doesn't support Boot Camp, and possibly a whole lot more, because this is the iMore Show. And joining us this week is the steadfast and true, the one and only Lori Gill. Hello, Lori Gill.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going well. It's going well. Thank you, of course, for being here. I don't know why I say that sometimes. I think I'm used to having guests on the other podcasts that I do, so it's like, thank you for being here. But you know, you're kind of here, right?
Yep. And also,
I'll thank her.
only virtually.
Yes, exactly.
Someday I'm going to show up in your living room, though, and then you're going to be scared.
Oh my
And
God,
then
that'd be
we'll
great.
podcast right next to each other. It'll be sweet. We'll have the dogs. And the one who continues to throw jabs my way, who I adore more than most things in this world. It is Georgia_Dow. Hello, Georgia Dow.
I'm good.
I didn't ask you how you were. I said
You didn't ask
hello.
me how I'm doing. Oh, well, now I feel hurt.
Oh, how are you? Hurt? I'm sorry.
I'm not going to say it now.
And of course, we have the awesome and the ever-present and constant producer of so many things. It is Renee Ritchie. How you doing, Renee?
I am incredibly intimidated to be on this show with not just one, but two rock stars this week. So I'm going to make sure that I just behave myself. Oh, we so should have had Jim play. And I'm spoiling the surprise.
Yeah, you're spoiling the surprise.
And Lori's saying, sorry, I'm not.
It's all right. And of course, I am so excited to welcome our special guest this week. You probably heard of him. It's Jim Dalrymple. Hello, Jim.
Hey, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. If you have time for a little, some musical numbers at the end, then maybe we'll take you up on that.
Lori and Jim doing Guns N' Roses to play us out.
Ooh.
Okay, that would be pretty cool. But until then,
Take me down to the paradise city where the grass is green and the girls are pretty.
We should probably break into things. We have been playing with new phones, new watches, new this, new that. And apparently we already have a new hashtag gate scandal. This time it is smooth selfie gate. So
No.
Renee, can you tell us what the heck is going on, what people are complaining about?
Can I just abjure it? Can I like pull a Gandalf and say, servants of the sacred fire, thou shalt not pass? No, I mean, it's anytime a new iPhone comes out, if anything goes wrong, people immediately rush to whatever platform they have available to them, be it Twitter or YouTube or blogs or whatever. And, first, because you get a lot of attention, you can bend some phones, you can break some speakers, you can do anything. This one though is interesting because some people were taking selfies with the true depth camera on the iPhone XS and XS Max, and it looks like in some cases, and not every case, because I've tried them and they have looked like it sometimes, but not others. So I'm not sure what's going on yet. In some cases, it looks like a beauty filter, what's classically called a beauty filter, is being applied. And people not familiar with it, there are a bunch of apps you can get that try to make you look as good as possible. If, some cultures, selfies are hugely important, whether it's US millennials or, mass market Japan. Like there's just a lot of places where you live and die by the selfie, and it basically smooths out your skin, makes your colors look warmer, and otherwise your skin more flawless. And it does look like some people are showing these portrait mode selfies that are, is that the right term, Micah? Is that what the kids call it? Is that what the centennials are all on about? Is it beauty mode?
Beauty mode, I think is a good way to put it, or just sort of like, I don't know, some people will just say like shopped or smoothed, or tuned, because a lot of the apps were like Facetune.
Oh God, it's auto-tuned for faces.
It's auto-tuned for faces. That may very well be the name of this podcast episode. So yeah, I think people know what you're talking about whenever you refer to that, but any number of things that refer to just like smoothing and whatnot.
I did ask Jim if he'd experienced it, but it turned out he was too pretty for the smoothing filter. Is that right, Jim?
That's pretty much right. I mean, I think that the iPhone is using my face as the algorithm to make everybody else up to my prettiness.
I think
Why
you're
I
right.
suddenly grew a beard in mine. I was like, what happened? Goodness, I gotta pluck more.
Take a photo here and see. Oh wow, yeah, it did give me a beard. I am curious. So this is only if you do have portrait mode on, right, Renee? Like it's not showing up if you just have the regular
I
photo.
believe so. And some people try toggling HDR, smart HDR on and off to see if that affects. So what happened was a big,
Got the duck lips. Mike got the duck lips when he
So
did the
good.
photo. I'm sorry. I just had to call him out on it. I want to see it.
One of the more controversial, but really like the person who does bend unbox therapy, the person who does bend phones and do a lot of other things like that, did a video yesterday saying, I think the title was like iPhone 10 broken or missed or it's something, and it was all about a buttery smooth filter being applied to his face.
Which it's interesting because there are some I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure, sort of what the complaint is that this is happening and you don't have control over it.
It's not optional. So like Android vendors will do this, but they'll give you the opportunity to turn on or off the sort of smoothing effect.
I don't know like any of the technology behind this software, but number one, it's true. I did a couple of samples of myself. I love to take pictures of myself, so I did a couple of samples of pictures of myself from 2 different phones, and not only is it smoother with portrait mode on iPhone XS over 10 in the environment that I was in, which is basically this room. Even the front-facing camera without portrait mode was smoother skinned on the iPhone XS than on the 10. So like just from one sampling, I was able to see that, yeah, there is a difference. It's not major, but there is a difference.
So it's not like Clint Eastwood looks like Justin Bieber, but there is something going on.
There's something going on for sure. The thing that I question though, there's all this talk about how Android devices have this like beauty filter that you can turn on or off, but what nobody's addressing is when the beauty filter is off, do Android phones also still have some other smoothing effect that's not as strong? Because the smoothing effect on the iPhone XS, it's barely noticeable. But it's only noticeable if you're comparing it against things that aren't the iPhone XS. So like
I'm going to do a side-by-side compare too. Now Lori's so much smarter.
Well, when we were talking about it yesterday, I thought, well, I'll give it a try then. So I think there's a couple of things to say, which is, yeah, it is there. There's no question that it's there. There is a smoothing effect, a very minor smoothing effect. I don't know what's causing it. It could have any number of reasons, like the fact that, the front-facing camera has all these other elements going on to like help make it better. Like the fact that you can adjust the bokeh effect, for example. And like, these are all these little software technology additions. Renee is showing us pictures right now.
The white background is iPhone 10. The one with the black background is iPhone XS.
It's really minor. It's a really minor effect. I just thought I looked that good.
Yeah,
I just thought I relaxed my facial muscles for a second.
Didn't I just look that good? Wasn't that me? And then I took one.
That's what Jim said.
Yeah.
I took one with it. I took one without, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't notice a huge difference. I don't think this is anything that people should be, grabbing their pitchforks for, because you don't have to take it in portrait mode if you do not like this effect. The way that you turn it off is just don't use portrait mode.
I think it applies it anyway, right?
It does. So again, I tested them with portrait mode and without, and though the smoothing effect, we're going to call it this for now because we don't know the details of why it does this. The smoothing effect is more noticeable with portrait mode than without, but there is also a smoothing effect on the front-facing camera without portrait mode on iPhone XS versus iPhone 10. I haven't tested against any of my other devices, and again, it doesn't. It seems like we're creating a bigger problem than there is, because it's possible that all cameras, all front-facing cameras on all phones that came out in 2018, they might all have this effect, and it's just that we didn't notice it before, and that Android has another actual filter that they call this beauty effect that you can turn off. So
correct me if I'm wrong though. So Jim, I think like the big thing here is that Apple is known for being natural. Like they want to give you the image that you see with your eyes and then let you apply all the filters. And this is a case where they don't seem to be doing that.
Well, but the problem is, as was said earlier, we don't really know what's going on yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to say whether Apple is doing something. Maybe it's a crossover from what they're doing in software that wasn't meant to happen. It is
Accidental beauty.
Yeah, I don't think that we really know enough yet. As has been said, to raise the flag and say that something is really off. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, so one of the things that they talked about on stage, a trillion processes happening on every single photo, and the neural engine is making use of, or rather it is making use of the neural engine to do a lot of this stuff. And so we could just have a situation where all of these things are working together to create this. And or perhaps rather, this is just the first proof of sentience for an AI, and it thinks that we all want to be more beautiful, and so it's just doing that for us.
Oh God, the AI helpers.
It could be that this camera trying to smooth out light, to smooth out detail, and it's picking up on our face as well.
That's what I was thinking. It's possible that the smoothing technology has nothing to do with making our face smoother, but making the image look better. And the side effect of this better image overall is that it accidentally smooths out our face.
Oh, they should do that thing where they detect, so for textures, for things like cloth and rope, the artificial intelligence detects them and then refuses to let the JPEG compression mess up those textures, tries to preserve them. They should apply that to faces so that we get every single crinkle and crease and crevice and blemish just totally like Michael's like, wah! What are you saying? This is Matt. And then people can choose between butter and brick.
Gross.
That's exactly what my face would be, a brick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a point where it's too much HDR. You don't need to see that much information.
TMI.
Oh God, I remember when I saw my first 4K video, and like all the actors, you're like, oh, that's what the actors really look like. Yeah. I'm not so jealous anymore.
You see all those baby fine hairs and
the blemishes.
A whole new section of Hollywood's special effects department was born because of that technology. And that's no lie. Like I remember reading an article about this where essentially these artists would go through and beautify these actors because they were complaining about the fact that now suddenly you could see all of their flaws. And so here's the deal. It's like, I understand sort of wanting to put your best foot forward, but you're not putting your best foot forward. It's like yanking a perfect foot off of a mannequin and putting that forward instead of actually putting your foot. And George is like, how is it like that?
I don't look like a foot. I'm just going to say, I'm throwing that out.
You know how I feel about feet, Georgia.
Make me send you more. But yeah, there's a point where I don't mind if it's like doing a little bit of smoothing as long as the photo looks like. And this is only the forward facing camera. For the camera that is you're using on the back, you're going to get the, you in your crispest glory as possible. So, and really, if you want to take a good photo, you're not going to be flipping it to, I want to see Renee's picture. You're not going to be flipping it around anyways. So I'm like, if I want a really nice photo, then okay.
It looks like, I thought that was you making that face in the camera, to be honest.
But yeah, this is definitely not beautified. I can report.
But that's the thing is that when I'm watching Transformers in like 4K, whatever else, I don't need to know that Megan Fox has that much fur on the back of her neck. I'm like, that kind of ruins the aura to me.
Wow. Jim's never going to come back.
It's true. You should completely see the movie. You're like, oh.
I was just looking at Optimus Prime.
And the hair on his back.
I guess what I mean is like, because I agree. I think that it's okay to, I just don't want to go as far as sort of what Renee was talking about, where you've got these Barbie doll humans that the skin is just completely flat. It seems disingenuous, and I feel like a lot of times people can tell, and I'm wondering if that's the biggest complaint.
Oh, and social impact, right? Like you start thinking your friends are all flawless, and why aren't you? And why do you look like? And it's one of those other things that already happens.
Like the Snapchat filters. It already happens, right? Like you go to Hollywood though, and that's what everyone looks like.
Or like when I get gym pictures, I'm just like, why do they look so good? Why can't I take pictures like that?
But that's just natural.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just
Some
all that.
insight sort of on millennial and probably like whatever the thing is called that's after post-millennialism. It's not so much the problem that you are like, it's not that you think that your friends are flawless. I've actually seen it be a very negative thing. If someone can tell that you've gone through and smoothed your face and done all this, then people look poorly on that and will sort of call that out and say, oh, that's gross, that's not authentic or what have you. And so there seems to be sort of this middle ground that folks are trying to find where they can, like, you know, apply makeup or something like that, but they're not going through and completely, you know, smoothing out their face. And so what I see here is a potential issue where you're just taking photos and then one of your friends is calling you out. Oh, I see you were in Facetune messing with your face. And it's like, no, I was just taking a photo. I didn't know. So it actually works in the reverse in that way. And it's interesting. I think that that's where I guess it's important to be able to have that control over whether you want these features on or not.
I have an unrelated question, but I just realized Jim was on. Can I ask it?
Go ahead.
So Jim, because you're the audio guy, and I've been trying to understand this is not to tune the way they tune the faces, but we've got these wide speakers now, and I realize this is a radical departure from what we're talking about, but it just occurred to me. Have you been able to do any testing or listening to those? Because you are like the premier audio person, and I was wondering if Apple's doing anything with because it just sounds wider to me. But is there anything special going on there?
I don't know what they're doing specifically, but yeah, there's something going on with the iPhone speakers for sure. Because you can hear, depending on the movie that you're listening to, you can hear true stereo, like a motorcycle going by, or a car going by in a movie or a video that you're doing. And if it was recorded in that type of audio, you'll get that in the iPhone, which is unique.
Yeah, I haven't even tried that. I had no idea that this was something going on. I have to watch a movie inside or on my iPhone now to check this out. So you're saying that there's actual like left, right.
Yeah, there seems
implications.
To be. And, a good test for that would be listening to an AC/DC song like Highway to Hell, because they truly did left, right speakers.
Yeah.
And in most speakers, you can hear, the left right will just come through as if it's center.
You're not talking about headphones, right? You mean the speaker from the phone?
Speaker on the phone, yeah.
This is blowing my mind right now.
Sounds like you're wearing headphones.
Imagine how they're doing it.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
It's really good sound.
I wonder if they're using any HomePod tech where they're actually beaming sound further out than it would be at the speaker location. I'm just making this up. I have no idea, but I'm just wondering because
they're doing something for sure. Whether it's hardware, software, whatever.
In the briefings they showed us.
What wide? So they say wider stereo. What does that mean when you say wider stereo? That means more left, right, center. Like it's more of a full sound than just blasting sound out of all the speakers at the same time. Okay, gotcha.
So, you get this feeling of width in the audio that you're listening to, that out of normal, just a set of old speakers, it's just going to come out everywhere, and it doesn't sound like there's any depth or any side to side.
Okay.
Yeah, they played a demo for us where I think it was Ready Player One, the race scene where the trucks were flying from one side, and you could really hear the truck going on one side and then all the way on the other side. And like the iPad Pro, you can spin it around and it retains the left-right correct position. Like if you hold it center,
cool.
Nobody likes portrait video except for Instagram, so that you're still getting center if you do it portrait. But if you go side to side, it will automatically adjust as you're turning it, which is kind of cool.
That is neat.
And the speakers are very loud.
Yeah. How is it for music, Jim? Because I don't listen to as much music as you.
So surprisingly, I listen to a lot of music on my iPhone because I'll sit outside with my computer, and even though I have my Mac there, I don't listen to music on it. I'll have it on my iPhone because I could put my Mac down and go for a walk or whatever. I still have my music playing, and I actually have to turn down the speakers now to get to the comfortable volume where you can still work and hear music. So it's very clear. It's very good.
Neat.
I like it.
That's great.
I only listen to music through big speakers. I just hook it up to Bluetooth. So I haven't even tested the speakers of the phone. I'm super impressed now.
But see, what's funny is that What's funny is that like 5 years ago or so on this show, George is like, they're the damn iPod company. Why can't they give me good speakers? They're doing good cameras. They're doing good screens. What about the speakers? And it's as if she lit a fire, because now year after year, we're getting better and better speakers.
I don't know if they were really listening to me to it, but I'm happy because I'm the person that though we have like Sonos or the HomePod, and you can judge me, it's fine. I primarily listen to music through my iPhone because it's with me. I can listen to the kind of music I want. When the kids with the HomePod, they hear me and then suddenly we're playing Sonic music in like some sort of
Super Mario playlist
all day, the entire day. And it's like, it's electronic version too. It's really sad. So I like just run around the house with my phone to be able to listen to music. So I'm really happy that it's going to be music that's like hearing like the iPhone and it's too loud. I love that. So I'm going to be testing it out.
I'm actually with you there. I haven't as much recently because I've been using this UE Boom 3 speaker that I can like walk around with everywhere. That's the one thing about the HomePod that kind of stinks, is that I can't just walk around anywhere in my house with it.
You just need more HomePods.
No, you get a chain and then a battery pack, and you do it like me. Like I total Flavor Flav style HomePod.
I need to see that. You need to make that happen. Actually,
I want to see you, Renee, carrying around your HomePod on your.
Okay.
That would be hilarious. So I've been doing that a lot lately because I like to listen to podcasts, audiobooks, and things like that whenever I'm like washing dishes, cleaning the house, what have you. But I used to a whole lot just listen from my iPhone. And now that I've got, this wider stereo opportunity, I'll have to check that out as well, because I haven't been using it because I've been using this external speaker. But it'll be interesting to see how much louder it is, because I do I'm not so tied into music or audio that I need to, or that I can even tell the difference, I guess, between
not yet
good and great. Yeah, not yet, exactly. Anything else on audio or auto tuning our faces?
I always wanted to add that I've been taking a lot of side-by-side comparison shots, and the iPhone XS is surprisingly better in some shots. Like the Smart HDR on or off, I've done it both ways, and its ability to resolve detail in shadows and light. Like I still remember going with Serenity and Michael Fisher crossing the Brooklyn Bridge in the middle of the night, taking photos with iPhone 7 that I could not take with iPhone 6. And this isn't that extreme, but I'm getting photos that I just would not be as good if I was taking them with any other iPhone. And I saw Austin Mann's review, and he always takes it to go shoot on like safaris and things. So I'm super jealous. But he's like, this phone is so good, I can barely get a silhouette now. It is so hard to get a silhouette because it just exposes detail in the shadows. That was one of my best tricks. And I think
that's funny.
I've been super impressed with the camera.
Yeah,
it's actually too good now.
It's too good. I need to scratch it up. It's too good. I got to crumbify it. Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and move on. But before we do, I want to tell you all about our friends at Thrifter, as Renee would say. Thrifter is a new way, or it is a way. It's not new at this point. It's a way to save money on everything from gadgets to home goods by shopping based on value and not hype. What does that mean? It means that you're going to get real deals, not those deals that they're just sort of trying to trick you into buying. These are real deals. You're actually saving money. If you sign up at thrifter.com, you're going to get thoughtfully selected deals from places like Amazon and Best Buy, and alerts to new pre-orders and things like that. It's all the stuff and none of the fluff at thrifter.com. And our deal hunter, dun dun dun, Lori Gill, is checking out thrifter.com, and she's going to tell us about a fine or fun or awesome deal to check out.
Okay, so I'm going to speak to this one specifically because of in honor of Jim. There's a title on this particular Thrifter deal called "Welcome to the Jungle." So that's why I'm picking. Unfortunately, has nothing to do with Guns N' Roses, but you can get Shadow of the Tomb Raider on PlayStation 4 for $50. It's $10 off. And I know that doesn't sound like the best possible deal in the world, but it does say "Welcome to the Jungle" on the title, and you got to give props to that. So,
welcome to the jungle. You're gonna save money, and you can also follow Thrifter on Twitter at Thrifter Daily, or if you're in the UK, you can follow them at Thrifter UK Or if you're in Canada, you can follow them at Thrifter CA, and they're tweeting out deals all the time. So, if you're looking for a place to spend that money you got and you want to save money while you're doing it, then go ahead and check out Thrifter. Sign up at thrifter.com to get those deals, all the stuff and none of the fluff. Thank you so much to Thrifter for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. And now tell us, Lori Gill, there's an old Mac that doesn't have boot camp in Mojave. What's going on?
This popped up. It popped up the day after or the day of the Mojave update release. I can't remember if it was I think it was day of. Yeah. And Apple posted their little sort of update sheet that says, I'm trying to find the link. I'm sorry. I think I clicked on the wrong thing. Here we go. There is literally one Mac model that does not support boot camp in Mojave. It's the 27-inch 2012 iMac with a 3 terabyte drive. That's it. That's the only model that won't support boot camp if you upgrade. So if anybody has that specific model, make sure that if you're using boot camp, you don't want to upgrade. Or at least
you said it, but someone was like, I wonder if there's an engineer who had a bad breakup and used specifically the model their partner had. And it's like, screw you. I'm taking away your boot camp.
I need that to be the case. Like in my head, that's exactly what's going on.
It's like, it's this one model. It's so weird.
It's also like one model with a specific storage number, like it seems so bizarre that like this one model doesn't work. And I'm not sure if maybe this was
probably technical. It's like there's some sort of drive configuration in that model that it can't do the partitioning properly. And so they just turned it off. But I like the story of massive vengeance.
I like the spiteful story better, though. It just makes
there goes your world of Warcraft, idiot.
The drama, the intrigue.
Yeah. I mean, so that's it. There's not really much else to speak to that. There isn't any information as to why that specific model doesn't support boot camp. And other than our joyous imagining of somebody taking vengeance on an ex, that's it. That's
it was
just
probably Jim. Like he knew these people just wouldn't stop using Windows. So he's like,
he has been really quiet about this.
I'll fix that.
He might know.
What do you know?
Do you have something to tell us, Jim?
I have nothing. I'm not.
See, that's exactly what someone would say if they had.
Jim found out that the person writing all the dumb Apple articles was doing it in Word over boot camp.
Oh, it was me.
And instead of taking the keyboard away, he just took their Windows away.
Yeah, let me see here. Just a minute and enter.
Oh dear. So yeah, if you're out there with a 27-inch iMac from 2012 and 3 terabytes of RAM,
hard disk,
then be careful. Don't upgrade just yet. Yeah, all right.
Or live the Windows-free life.
Yeah. If you don't need boot camp, you're good to go.
Or use a virtual machine. Honestly, I've used them, and I think virtual machines are fantastic. You don't have to partition your hard drive for them, and you can still access all of the Windows hardware, or not hardware, the Windows software. It is a little bit slower. It has a little bit of a lag, but virtual machines are fantastic. So
what virtual machine are you using?
I've tested a couple of different ones. That God, what is the one that I've been using?
I use Parallels mostly. I go back and forth between VMware and Parallels, but I usually
VMware. So it's Parallels just updated to 13, and that one's really fantastic. And VMware are both. They're both top notch.
Did you guys notice that Microsoft is kind of going off Windows too? Like every time I see an announcement, it's like this is available now for iOS and maybe like Windows, like the new Skype. Which, Skype is horrible, but it's got these new features. It's like, yeah, it's available for iOS and Mac OS, and maybe we'll do Windows in like a couple months. And you're like, really? You're Microsoft?
Yeah, it's very strange.
I find Microsoft's iOS programs better than their Mac programs.
Yeah, and they're better than their Windows programs a lot lately too.
Excel and that whole Office suite for iOS is really good.
Yeah, there's no legacy code.
It's got really good stuff. Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? There's no legacy. There's no, 2 million lines of code from
for copy paste
in there.
2 million lines. No, I think that's absolutely true, and I think that they see the market and they're just developing. That team is like, we want to sell all this stuff. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much the world, again, I keep going back to this, and I forget, I'm sorry that I'm an old man yelling at the clouds, but if you had told me 10 years ago that we would all be running around with Apple computers in our pockets running Unix and Conqueror browsers instead of Microsoft products running Explorer, I would have thought you were insane. And now it's such an amazing world.
I can just see you running around yelling at the clouds.
Hey, get off my lawn.
Oh golly. Yeah, that's gonna take care of that one. We've made it through that one. Let's go ahead and talk about
It's like
one of Renee's favorite topics. No, you put together a really great video talking about the patent sort of regulation, or rather the patent hounding that Qualcomm has been known to do, and the difference between the Intel chip and the one from Tell us more about all of this modem situation. I know you've already said this in a video. I just watched it yesterday,
you can go to youtube.com/Vector Show and watch it. But the too long didn't read is that Infineon was a company that made the original iPhone modems, and Intel bought them because they weren't going to get x86 chips into iPhones. They thought maybe we can get some of that delicious modem money. So they started making modems, and Apple does not want to, most people do not want to pay Qualcomm anymore. They've had antitrust brought against them in Taiwan, in the EU, in Korea, in other countries, because when you make patents that are taken to be standard, you're supposed to offer them under free, reasonable, and non-discriminatory licenses. And what Qualcomm does is try to squeeze you for, like, they don't want you to pay for the part. They want to take a percentage of your phone sale because they believe they're so important to it. And that works unless, like, the camera person then wants it, and like the interface person then wants it, the RAM person. You can't just give everyone a piece of your phone. So Apple, and also we pay a huge surtax to support Verizon and Sprint in the US because you need extra technology for CDMA. So Apple was trying to get away from Qualcomm and use Intel modems. And that happened for GSM, for AT&T, for T-Mobile, for Rogers, for most of the world. That happened a couple of years ago. And there was some growing pains, but I think most of all, they're not quite as good as Qualcomm modems because they haven't been doing it as long. And Qualcomm literally invented the technology, so they have a lead. But they were good enough for iPhones for years. And now Apple never said this. Qualcomm said this, interestingly. Apple's gone to Qualcomm modems everywhere. And people who are switching over on Verizon and Sprint are getting these new modems. And every modem has different characteristics. So some people are saying they get less bars in more fringe areas. Like if they only had one bar, reception is down, speed is down. And that's possible. It's really hard to test a lot of these things. But if you have very low reception, you might not be getting as good a reception as possible. My guess is Apple and carriers will just send out an update that tweaks things and improves reception. So it's not like AntennaGate where you could put your finger on the bar and pause play. Oh, the boss is coming in. I'm pausing this baseball game. Oh, the boss is gone. I'm going to take my finger off and replay the baseball game. It's nothing like that. It's just the new modems are very different than the old modems, and I think there's going to be some growing pains. That didn't turn out to be very short at all. I apologize.
No, I actually, I'm on the Verizon. I'm on it, and I haven't noticed any significant difference between iPhone 10 and iPhone 10s in terms of like the cellular service. But I guess under my circumstance, I'm on Wi-Fi at home a lot, and I don't deal with the issue because I'm not involved in the issue. So I definitely wouldn't assume that.
Testing.
Yeah, I definitely think that I should kind of like go out and see what my cellular network is like, because at home I'm not experiencing it at all. The times I've gone out when I'm streaming Apple Music or something on a walk, I haven't experienced any kind of like slowdown or lag or drop or anything like that. I don't talk on the phone barely at all, and I feel like I hate being this sort of like blanket statement person, but like most people don't talk on their phone these days. On their cell phone, they're texting or they're using other ways of communicating with each other, and like
kids.
Yeah, exactly. Like this possibility of a phone, like there's no more commercials. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Because nobody's hearing.
Are you getting this text? Are you getting this text?
Yeah.
No, I think for salespeople and for people who do like are more traditional in their communications, it's still a big deal. And I don't want to downplay it because like this is complicated stuff. Every time Apple puts out an update, some people get worse reception. Some people get better reception. Some people's Wi-Fi starts working better. Some people's Wi-Fi starts working worse. And it's only a few percentages. Apple will say a very small percentage. But when you sell 100 million devices, that's still a lot of people. And it has to do with the way that all of these technologies interface. And if you go from bad to good, you're so happy. If you go from good to bad, you're so angry. And usually I think it takes to like the 0.1 update before everything gets smoothed out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So when should we expect that 0.1 update?
I mean, the big update is already in beta, but Apple can put out a point release. They put out a point release for the watch to get everybody their Thanksgiving and National Forest Day awards back. So Jim, if you were panicking that you lost all your
thank God,
your Thanksgiving achievements, they've been restored as of yesterday. But so I'm guessing iPhone won't be too far behind.
I was really worried about that Turkey Day award I got. Man,
there's no Heineken award.
Oh, I get that every day.
He's the only one that gets that award, though. It's very special.
Jim has a custom complication. Every time he lifts his wrist, it counts a Heineken, and then
you are 10 beer behind.
10 a.m. 10 beer behind.
Your usual average, Jim. You have drunk 3 kegs
instead of drinking water.
Oh, that's great.
If only you could hack into your Apple Watch and change the word water to Heineken. That would be perfect.
Can I yell about something unscheduled that was breaking just when the show started?
Please do.
So Facebook, who we found out, was it yesterday? Or I can't even tell. There's so many scandals. Was using our 2-factor authentication phone number to target us for advertising. That was just a fresh scandal. And then now the AP reports that they've had 50 million accounts breached. And a bunch of people are like, wow, Facebook is having a really bad year. No, Facebook users are having people who trusted Facebook are having a really, really bad year. I have no empathy for, I'm not going to call them sociopaths because I have an actual therapist on this show and she'll yell at me. But the people running Facebook who seem to have very little empathy for the people using their product, they're still billionaires. It's the rest of us that have had our data abused and leaked and manipulated and all of this stuff for many, many years, and we're just finding out about it. So shame.
I just so sick of the lack of outrage when people get abused. Like, it's just, no one's going to care. No one's going to care. They're going to be like, oh, oops. Or other people, again, I understand. Some people don't understand how large a breach of someone else's privacy this is and just your trust in a company. But there needs to be laws and regulations to stop this, and someone should be held accountable because this is your privacy. You're being used to sell ads. So someone else is making money and you're not making money, and you were trying to do this. Like, if you signed up for 2-factor authentication, you were asking to have it be more secure, not now you can sell my phone number as well.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I did not use 2-factor for a really long time with Facebook because I didn't like the idea of my phone being attached to my account.
Same.
And at some point I decided that the risk of somebody being able to break into my account without my knowledge was worth giving my phone number over. And now
you were wrong.
I was wrong. Yeah.
Happens. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's very unfortunate. And
but it's not unfortunate. This is malicious. They did this it wasn't an oops, right? Like, this was a purpose. There's a huge difference between oops, I spilled this and ruined your phone versus I took your phone and dipped it into some sort of acid so that you destroy your phone.
Yeah, Georgia does the second one. Renee does the first one.
That's true. That's true.
I agree, though. This is very frustrating because you have people wanting to improve their security. They hear their relatives who are constantly going, set up 2-factor authentication, use special passwords for everything, blah, 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 blah. So they finally do it to quiet down their relatives who are encouraging better password security. And then suddenly their data is being taken and their phone number is getting 50,000 more robocalls or what have you. Because of this, it's not okay. And when Facebook goes to sit in front of Congress and say, oh yeah, we're doing all these things to be better about this, we're protecting this, we're protecting that, we're not going to do this anymore, we're going to do that now, and then they do this, it's like, that all they're doing is a bunch of lip service. And how can you trust the company with what they're saying about protecting your data whenever they're doing these things that, yeah, I agree, Georgia, are entirely malicious? This is not oh, how odd, your phone number just sort of fell into my database, and I can see it now, and now it's mine. Yeah,
well, with Facebook, the oops is that they always get caught.
Yes.
That's the
How can we try? Yeah, exactly. They can't even do that right.
yeah. So the oops is like you were saying. I mean, this is not a mistake that they were using this. It was malicious. The oops was, we get caught again.
Yeah.
And
But then nothing happens.
Nothing
Like
happens.
nothing happens.
I feel like Thanos. I'm like offended that they're so bad at it.
But the other thing about this is that we kind of pretend that everybody else is better than Facebook, and they're not. What's that thing? There's a meme that was going around. There's a job opening at Google. No need to apply. We already know everything about you.
Right.
I mean, Google's just as bad. Facebook is just as bad, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. And we don't know about, Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram. Well, Instagram must be, because they're part of Facebook. So, it would be, I think, irresponsible of us to assume that Facebook is the only bad one out there. The others just haven't gotten caught.
Yeah, I mean, it's so bad. You've had the people who ran WhatsApp and Instagram ran. They gave up billions of dollars to get the hell out. And I'll delete the app, but like giving up billions of dollars, that means like I can't really take this crap anymore.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to bring you down, my boy.
No, I'm glad that we talked about that, because it's not right.
Okay.
And frankly, what you said is the most important aspect of this that I think maybe coverage sometimes forgets. We've got people saying Facebook had another bad day, or on and on it goes with Facebook. And you're
no,
so
they
right.
didn't.
Yeah.
They're making lots of money off of you. They had a great day. They just are like, again, they're going to give lip service, pay Congress and all their senators a whole bunch of money, and this problem goes away for them.
Yep.
And no one's going to hold them accountable, because the only thing they would care about is if people in mass deleted Facebook.
Yeah.
And that won't happen.
Well, what we really need is people who understand technology and security of technology, working within the government to help them understand kind of the regulations that need to get put in place. Because I think one of the biggest problems right now is that, Zuckerberg will go into a hearing and they'll ask him a bunch of questions, and they don't know the answer to their own questions. They don't know what they're supposed to do.
Which hobbit am I, Mark?
Well, the problem with, you're right, we do need those people to work for government, but the problem is all those people work for Facebook.
Yes.
True.
Yeah.
So,
It's true.
Oh, so
Someday, though.
Nothing can be fixed and everything is bad. And let's go ahead and move on to talk about. No, I kid. Perhaps one day we can watch a hearing in Congress and hear one of the representatives ask a question that actually makes sense and is not just something that very clearly shows that they have absolutely no understanding how any of this technology works. Fingers crossed, folks. Fingers crossed. Do we want to talk about Logic and Mainstage getting an update, Lori?
Actually, Renee, do you want to speak to that? I don't know either of these programs.
I would be embarrassed to talk about it in front of Jim. Like
Jim, why don't you talk about it?
No, I haven't even used it yet. Haven't even downloaded it.
So it's not a major update. They just added a bunch of new filters and a bunch of new a bunch of new features, a bunch of improvements to features. It's a point update, not a whole update. But if you do use, I've never used Mainstage. I don't know why. It looks better, like, because they don't play live music. That's probably why I haven't really used Mainstage.
That makes sense.
I do use Logic for editing podcasts and stuff, but this doesn't affect any of my This is more for musicians, which is why I can quote the features, but I don't have any personal experience with them.
Yeah. So if you do use those applications for editing your podcasts or, I guess being a DJ on stage, what have you, then go ahead and check those new updates out and all the fun. I mean, the list is long. There are a lot of new features for both of them. So quite fun. Anything
Can we talk about the iPhone XR not having a 1080p screen and having lower RAM? I watched your video, and Renee, I'll tell you, I always have had the utmost respect for you, but this very well laid out, clear, making sense of these differences in these specs was just like, oh, so I totally get it now. When somebody asks me a question, I'll be able to like relay this information to them in a very clear and concise way. So let's have you tell us about this. Like, first of all, oh no, the iPhone XR has like such a crappy screen. And second, oh no, the iPhone XR has barely any RAM. What does this mean?
So I mean, it's not. It's so there is a whole culture, and some people will blame YouTube, some people will blame blogs. You can blame mainstream media because everybody does this. They just all think that they're great. Whenever anything comes out, people look for an angle that they can make an instant hit piece on, like a complaint piece. They can have outrage, and they can score a lot of attention for it. And usually they just find something and run with it as quickly as possible, and they don't do any due diligence. They don't look into it. And often they do not understand what they're talking about. So like when it comes to 1080p, 1080p is a format for content. What they're talking about is the screen on the iPhone doesn't have 1080 pixels vertically, but it's not 16 by 9, which means 1080p is redundant anyway. You'd have to do the calculations and find out what 1920s horizontal scale would be. I'm getting distracted. The point is that none of that stuff is really relevant. A lot of things are scaled up and down. The iPhone Plus, for example, I'm going to back up for a second. When Apple brought out the iPhone 4, they went from 1x, which means 1 pixel equals 1 point, to 2x. So 2 pixels equaled 1 point. And that meant that they could have much better detail because things like curves and diagonal lines would render with much higher fidelity. When the iPhone Plus came out, they went to add 3x, which means 3 pixels, a 9 by 9 grid in every point. But they scaled it down to fit in a 1080p display. Never bothered me. Some people didn't like it because they said they could see single pixel flickers as it would go through the scaler. With the iPhone XS Max, it's a real at 3x. There is 9 pixels for every point, no scaling. For the XR, it's at 2x. So it is the same resolution that you have had with iPhone 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of those phones, Apple just made the display bigger, the same way they just took the iPhone XS display and made it bigger. So if you never had an issue with those phones, you are suddenly not having an issue with this phone either. Because what will happen is they'll show you 720p content upscaled or 1080p content downscaled. They're all like, YouTube, you won't be able to play 1080p. You've been fine. Like, you've never noticed any problem with this before. It's just going to do a really good job with downscaling, downsampling the data. The same way an iPhone XS is in between 1080 and 4K. Oh no, it doesn't show 4K. No one cares. It downscales 4K, or probably just gives you 1080p because it's more efficient and shows you that. So anything that's beyond at 2x is really hard for your eyes to see. It is a little bit sharper on a XS. That's why it's a premium. But Jim and I both, I think you had a chance to play with the XR too, Jim. Did the screen make your eyes bleed?
Yeah, surprisingly, no. My eyes didn't bleed when I looked at that phone.
Did you even notice?
No.
No, it's a phenomenal display. It's the best LCD technology on the market. It doesn't do HDR because, some people will say LCD does HDR, but because it doesn't do true blacks, it kind of does. It goes for the higher end of the scale and not the lower end of the scale like OLED. I have a whole video on it again and explain the whole thing. But the thing is, the iPhone XR costs less than the iPhone. So it has less screen density. It has 1 camera instead of 2 cameras. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM because it doesn't have to push all the pixels that a XS has to push. And I could go on and on about why there's like real simple reasons for all this stuff. And people should just ask first and film videos and write angry blog posts later.
And please, please, please watch Renee's Vector video on that to get all of the details, because it's all going to make sense and it's all going to come out very clear to you and you're going to understand it. So anytime somebody posts something, some blog somewhere about, the iPhone XR costs too much money and just gives you a bunch of outdated technology, you'll be able to understand.
It has the A12 processor. It has the same world's first 7 nanometer processor as the iPhone XS. It's not like they
understand how wrong someone is on the internet.
Oh God! All right.
No, Renee, thank you for that as well. Because some of these, it seems a lot of the times and it makes sense. I'm sure Georgia can speak to this, and we've actually talked about it before about iPhone, like Antenna Gate and all of these different ones that have come out. The negative stuff is the stuff that seems to carry further, and it is also I've noticed a matter of those negative things more likely to reach the public and sort of folks that aren't steeped in tech every day. And so when my family is asking, oh, I heard that this iPhone is blah, because I'm the like stand-in for Apple in my family, they just complain to me instead of the company. Then I can sort of explain what's going on there. So that is helpful. And I have always been, of course, an advocate for explaining away falsehoods and better understanding things in general and helping people to understand things when they don't. So yeah, that's a great video to check out.
I owe Jim a ton of credit though, because like I was not sure how to handle any of this stuff a long time ago. And I went to him and said, Jim, I feel like I'm just giving them attention if I address this. And he said, no, they don't matter. It's the audience that matters. And if they're getting bad information, you have to give them good information. And that like totally clarified my life in this business for me. So I owe Jim credit for all of that.
And you're doing a fantastic job. You're just completely busting all
the do it like Jim though, where he just goes like, nope.
I kind of like that. That's fun for us, but the detail is good too. Yeah.
And the detail is great.
The detail matters. You know what you got to do, Renee? Get an electric guitar, plug it in to a nice loud amplifier, and then just shred some
I have
music
no
for a
musical
while.
talent.
I don't know if that would be
make considered
you cool.
shredding though.
Shredding someone's ears?
No, I've gotten to listen to Jim play. That's enough for me.
Just let loose that whammy bar. And,
yeah, that's what makes him so cool enough to just go, nope.
Once in a while, Jim joins a podcast while he's jamming, and then you just get to listen for a while.
That's true.
I'm waiting, Jim. Let's see it.
Yeah.
We're gonna make something happen.
Yes.
So I think that we'll have to talk soon about ARKit 2 and some of the improvements there. So you can look
Russell on.
Yes, you can look forward to that in future episodes. I didn't see many folks reach out with Ask iMore tweets, so I'll keep collecting those. You turkeys. I'll keep collecting those, and we'll have to get a bunch of those, and we'll be able to answer your questions. So use the hashtag Ask iMore. Or you can use Matthew Casanelli's shortcut to send us an email asking for your question rather. So send those in, and I'll make Georgia answer every single one of them, and we'll all just sit by and watch while she does, and it'll be great, right, Georgia?
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna get a puppet to stand in for me.
I love it. Hi. The answer is
poop.
And since a puppet said it, it'll be okay.
It'll be okay. You can get away with a lot of stuff as a puppet. It's just true.
Oh boy, let's go ahead and let's wrap up the episode now. Thank you all so much for listening out there. I want to, of course, thank Jim Metzendorf for editing the show. He does a fantastic job of making us all sound so great each week. Let's go around. Jim Dalrymple, if people are looking for you online to read your stuff or follow along and see those nopes, where can they find you?
J Dalrymple on Twitter and loopinsight.com.
Excellent. Georgia Dow, can people find you online if they want to?
Let's be honest, not really. If you were dealing with anxiety and depression, though, you can check out anxiety-videos.com. And I'm mildly on Twitter. It's at Georgia_Dow, but I think I'm like just heading away from social media.
I'm with you, Georgia, honestly.
Yeah.
Just to talk to Renee.
After you say that the 17 places that they can find you, go for it.
No one
believes. No one believes.
Lori Gill, if people are looking for you online, where can they find you?
At Georgia_Dow. Or they can find me at Appaholic with a K. And they can find me at Lori Gill at iMore, where I will be trying not to read my tweets or join Facebook or all those horrible things.
Horrible things. Renee Ritchie, if people are looking for you online or looking to get one of those awesome pins that Lori is wearing.
She got hers before me.
Yeah, I noticed that already. That looks awesome.
It's really, really good looking.
What is that, Lori?
It is my Vector enamel pin. Ooh. It's really good quality. Of course, I can't pull it off my sweater right now.
That's how you know it's good quality.
Yeah.
Have you done beard pins yet, Jim? You got to do beard pins.
I got to do beard pins.
Oh, that'd be cute. Oh, I love it. That is beautiful.
Good.
How big is it, Lori?
So good.
It's a
Quarter?
a 1-inch pin. Yeah, so I'm not sure how you scale them, but in the punk rock world, we call it 1 inch.
There
Nice.
you go.
Is a 1-inch pin.
Awesome. I can't want mine so badly.
So where do they go to find those? Where do they go to find
Those
you?
are at standard.fm/vector. And you can find me at imore.com/vector or just at Renee Ritchie on an increasingly smaller amount of social things.
Yes, excellent. If you're looking for me online, you can find me at Micah Sargent on Twitter sometimes. You can also head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUA.coffee, which has links to all the things that I do, podcasts, etc. You can find all of our writing. Well, you can find Jim, I don't know if you've ever posted anything on iMore before, but you can find
a guest editorial or two.
There you go. You can find all of our writing at some point or another over at imore.com. We will, of course, be back next week with so much more, depending on whether you're listening to this on the week or during the week or the weekend. I hope that you have a great one. This has been the iMore Show.
Thank you.
Thank you
By
so
the way,
much for joining us,
Jim, I guess you probably didn't know this, but now you're forced to work for us. So there you go.
Once you've been on the podcast.
Stopping the broadcast.